All right, what's going on, everyone? So a lot of news coming out of the Iran war today, with President Trump making a series of statements in just a few minutes that the Hormuz situation is over, that Iran is ready to hand over all of their nuclear material to the United States, and notably, that Israel is prohibited from going after Hezbollah. So a lot to unpack. Let's get started here. Again, in just a very short period of time, President Trump said the Hormuz situation is over. Iran has agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. It will no longer be used as a weapon against the world. Iran, with the help of the United States, has removed or is removing all sea mines. And we're going to break this down into three different categories. The first is the Strait of Hormuz, those 3 points there. We'll come back and provide additional context as well as some input from the Iranian side. The second one here is the nuclear material, the deal, where President Trump said, quote, "The USA will get all of their nuclear dust. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form." And third is this Hezbollah ceasefire, or lack of it. The war's over between Israel and Hezbollah, I think. I don't know. This one's getting some pushback already from folks in northern Israel, where he says Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. They are prohibited from doing so by the USA. Now, starting with the first of three aspects that we'll dive into today, the Strait of Hormuz. And kind of mixed information, to say the least. So the Iranian foreign minister put out a statement this morning saying, quote, "In line with the ceasefire in Lebanon, the passage for all commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz is declared completely open for the remaining period of the ceasefire on the coordinated route as already announced by Ports and Maritime Organization of the Islamic Republic of Iran." I feel like there were two important statements being made there, right? The first, and the one that's getting all the headlines, is the Iranian leadership saying the Strait of Hormuz is open. But if you read through, he said also it is still overseen by the IRGC, and all of these ships have to register and kind of verify that they're able to move through by Iran. And a big caveat right now is this is all brand new. So we have no idea. Like, to my knowledge, there has not been a single vessel that has moved through the Strait of Hormuz since these announcements were made less than an hour ago. So that's the big test. Now, Iranian Tasnim news agency added some context here where they said Iran has imposed 3 conditions for ships crossing the Strait of Hormuz. 1, ships must be commercial. The passage of military ships is prohibited, and neither the ships nor their cargo should be related to hostile countries. 2, ships must pass through the route designated by Iran. 3, the passage of vessels must be coordinated with the IRGC Navy. So real quick there, if Iran is saying, and again, we have to wait to see how this actually plays out, but if they say the ships and their cargo cannot be related to hostile countries, who are they referring to as hostile countries right now? Related to? So, I mean, that feels pretty broad. Like, some of the Gulf countries allowed U.S. assets to be based there to fire into Iran. Are those hostile countries right now? Has their status changed? What about any country that allows overflight by U.S. aircraft? It's not, this is so far from just being wide open, everybody can come through. So I think we do need to treat this with a grain of salt right now. On top of that, President Trump did make clear that the U.S. blockade is still in effect. So the blockade of the blockade is still in effect. But the Iranian Security Council put out a note following this statement from Arghachi saying the Strait of Hormuz will be closed again if the United States does not lift their naval blockade, stating that this will be regarded as a violation of the truce. So on the one hand, a lot of positive statements is probably the best way to put it. The most important thing that we have to watch for here is the actions. Does the strait actually open up? And of course, the reason that the Iranian side is saying that the strait is open is because that is a component of the ceasefire deal struck with the United States about a week ago at this point. And they said what needed to happen before they could do that was a ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel. Now, that ceasefire went into effect yesterday, and President Trump went a step further, telling Israel they will no longer attack Hezbollah, even after this ceasefire wraps. But before getting into that, a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Bubs Naturals. So I turned 40 and my body sent me a memo. Stiffer joints, slower recovery, skin started looking like it's actually been through some things. Overall, pretty motivating, love to see it. But it turns out there's actually a reason for this, and it's that your collagen production drops in your mid-20s. And collagen is basically the protein that holds your joints, muscles, and skin together. So put another way, over time, we're kind of losing our glue, which Sounds great. That's why I partnered with today's sponsor, Bubs Naturals, because apparently I can't just will this collagen back into existence. Now, Bubs collagen peptides, what we have here, actually help restore your collagen levels back to where they were when your body still liked you. Now, I've been taking it and genuinely feel less stiffness, there's faster recovery, skin looks a little better. One scoop in my morning coffee, that's the whole routine. There's no sugar, no fillers, no weird aftertaste. It's NSF certified for sport, Whole30 approved. Dissolves completely. It's pretty low effort for something that actually works. Now, they also make creatine, electrolytes, and MCT oil creamers, all the same, clean, no-nonsense formula, no fluff, just the stuff that actually does something. Oh, and Bubs donates 10% of profits to charity in honor of Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Doherty. So it's good for your joints and your conscience. So use code Preston at bubsnaturals.com for 20% off. Live better, longer. Your future joints will thank you. All right, so moving into the second topic here, the concept of a plan around some sort of nuclear deal. This is being reported by Axios, and there's already been some pushback directly from the administration. Axios said the United States and Iran are negotiating over a 3-page plan to end the war, with one element under discussion being that the United States would release $20 billion in frozen Iranian funds in return for Iran giving up its stockpile of enriched uranium. They say that is according to 2 U.S. officials and 2 additional sources briefed on the talks. In that article, they make clear that it is not known if that memorandum of understanding refers at all to Iran's ballistic missile program, their drone program, their support for the proxies, or anything else. It might exclusively be focused on the nuclear program. Now, Kelly Meyer over at News Nation was asking President Trump about this earlier today in one of these phone calls. It's wild. Like, these reporters, they just have the president's phone number, I guess, and they just call every so often and ask him some questions and move on. But either way, Kelly Meyer, a few minutes ago, said, I asked President Trump if Iran agreed to stop enriching uranium. Yes, he told me. They agreed to stop enriching uranium? They agreed to everything, is what President Trump said. Now, the pushback here, again, coming from President Trump, is he said, no money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. And administration officials said all of this stuff is just hearsay, it's just gossip, it's just rumors, you can't pay attention to it unless it comes from U.S. government officials. Here's the thing, there's a little bit of nuance here. Releasing frozen Iranian funds, I could see as being presented as not changing hands. It's not the United States giving money to Iran. It's releasing the hold on Iranian money that's already out there. I don't know if that's the angle that's being taken here, just something to keep back in mind. Also, if Iran is going to be giving up enrichment forever, if they're going to be giving up all of their enriched uranium forever, we have to assume that they are going to be getting something. Right? We know Iran is down, but we also know that Iran is not out. They still have, to a degree, a functioning chain of command. It's very different today than it was on February 27th. We know they still have some missiles. We know they still have some drones. We have seen the control they're able to exert over the Strait of Hormuz. So we should not assume right now, the points we're being presented with is that Iran has just capitulated and said everything is okay. We're giving in on all of the U.S. points. I think that's a little too optimistic. There's not a lot in recent days, weeks, or months, frankly, that would point to that being the case right now. So we do not know what this actual agreement is set to look like. One aspect of that, apparently, has to do with Hezbollah. You'll recall when the initial ceasefire went into place, there was some confusion. President Trump, or the Pakistani prime minister, who's kind of overseeing and helping with the negotiations, said this ceasefire includes Hezbollah and includes Lebanon. And then people said no, Israel said no, the United States said no, and then they came back and said yes, and it was all up in the air. Yesterday, a ceasefire went into effect. And this is another weird one, because the ceasefire technically is between Lebanon and Israel. Well, Lebanon and Israel are not at war, and they aren't fighting each other. It's Hezbollah, which is a non-state actor, pretty significant power, pretty significant military, but a non-state actor that operates in southern Lebanon, kind of to a degree within the state is probably a way to put it. But either way, a ceasefire with Lebanon and Israel doesn't really accomplish anything because those two aren't at war. Now, yesterday, the Wall Street Journal, in announcing this, said Israel and Lebanon will implement a cessation of hostilities beginning at 5 p.m. Thursday, so yesterday afternoon, for a period of 10 days. With the start of the ceasefire, Lebanon will take meaningful steps to prevent Hezbollah and other rogue, non-state armed groups in Lebanon from carrying out any attacks, operations, or hostile activities against Israeli targets. Lebanon can't or won't. You make your pick. I kind of lean more in the not able to actually take out Hezbollah, but they've not been the ones to do that for a long time. Like if we're talking about Hezbollah no longer existing as a militant organization, as it sits today, that is on the IDF. Lebanon is not able to do that. So interesting here that the ceasefire goes into place, and the idea then is that Lebanon is going to deal with that problem going forward when they have not been able to make, from what I can tell, any progress at all. This was celebrated as a victory across the so-called axis of resistance. So Iran immediately came out. We saw statements from some of their officials saying, good job. This is kind of the way they presented it is this is the axis of resistance sticking together. Good job, Hezbollah. You stayed in the fight long enough. The Houthis congratulated them. Hamas congratulated them. A number of militias across Iraq and Syria congratulated Hezbollah in what they called their victory over Israel. Essentially, the argument being they stayed in the fight. They are alive today, and they will be able to stay and fight another day. Now, the ceasefire, as it sits right now, is not exactly being well received across Israel. The Wall Street Journal said, quote, the ceasefire was greeted with anger in northern Israel, where officials said the momentum of an Israeli operation to disarm Hezbollah once and for all has been compromised again. Most Israelis supported continuing the war in Lebanon regardless of what happened in Iran. It's according to polling by the Tel Aviv-based Institute for National Security Studies. Another statement here from Mark Levine, Levine, either way. I would say Iran war hawk in this case. Yesterday, as this ceasefire was coming together, he said, quote, if reports are correct, the Iranian regime demanded Israel stop destroying Hezbollah as a condition of negotiating again with the United States, thereby linking Hezbollah's survival to that of the Iranian regime. Do we want the Iranian regime and Hezbollah to survive? If so, why? And kind of the key component here is, again, it looks like Iran was not going to be negotiating, was not going to be moving forward until the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah went into place. They drew that line right out the gate. The way this looks is that was presented to Israel. Some are now saying kind of forced upon Israel by President Trump in order to get Iran to negotiate some sort of settlement. The timeline matches up, right? We don't know the behind the scenes, but it does kind of fit with that series of events. Another Israeli source here, Abu Ali Express, over on Telegram, said, quote, the manner in which the ceasefire in Lebanon was achieved and the immediate return of the Lebanese to their homes south of the Litani erode on a psychological level the achievements of the campaign on the ground and play into the hands of the Iranian Axis narrative. We know that the narrative is an important part of this and all wars. It's not everything. So in this case, when you have Iran, when you have Hezbollah, when you have the Houthis, when you have Hamas saying this is a victory by the axis of resistance, yes, that helps their morale. How much does that morale go into the actual success on the battlefield or the success in dictating the strategic ends of this conflict? That can be debated for sure, but either way, it's a little bit messy right now, to say the least. I know a lot of folks are wanting to and have wanted to for a long time jump in to say that this is a major victory, clear-cut victory for the United States, all the way over to this is a very obvious strategic defeat. I think somebody said the biggest strategic defeat since Vietnam. It's too early. We don't know the terms of this deal. Every time something comes out, people push back and say that's not actually what's being negotiated right now. So hold. Final assessments will come. We will dive into it. Good, bad, ugly, everything in between. But for the time being, it's a lot of mixed messages seemingly in every direction. So the big thing to keep an eye on here in the next 24 hours, Strait of Hormuz. Are ships actually moving through? We've had both parties say that it's open to varying degrees. What do the tankers say? What do the private companies say that would be taking those risks? What do the insurers say that would be signing off on those ships moving through or not? That is going to be a big one to watch here as we get into the weekend. But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.